Jefferson climbs the ladder. Oh my goodness! Come
on! Welcome one, welcome all. No, this is not the gun show going on. Just repping DraftKings Tourney Tunes, the jersey that Kurt and I went in on together. Kurt, yours is somewhere in that house probably. And I'm wearing the bucket hat because ever since I just started wearing TK apparel, I've been hitting parlays. I've been cashing real well. I don't know what it is, Kurt. It's got to be the look, surely. But we have a game tonight between the Los Angeles Chargers and New Orleans Saints. There's a little bit of something called a hurricane or a tropical storm kind of in the area. So it's been questionable whether this game was going to play. That's what makes it interesting tonight. You know, we might not have a ton of news on the starters, but what we do have is some theories. And Kurt, I'll kick it to you, man. How are you doing today? Where's your Attorney Tunes t-shirt, jersey, whatever you call it? What's going on?
I think it's at a different house, but I do have it. It's just with, I think it's some of my winter clothes that I'll never use. But sorry to hurt your feelings. But yeah, so the theory is there's just no news yet. It's probably because we're doing it too early, but usually even we have the news midweek. But my theory is it wasn't 100% sure that this game was going to happen until probably today. It kind of sets in like, okay, we are doing this thing. It got downgraded. They even might be able to get out before even the rain comes. So the theory is they got an extra look at the starters in joint practices, which usually happens, but even more so this week, maybe with the hurricane doubts of the game being played. They got even more reps to the starters. And my theory is because of that, we don't see any of the starters, even though the Chargers haven't played theirs yet, and the Saints have. So I think the Saints are more likely to set theirs. And if we do see the Chargers, I think it'll just be a series because of that extra work in joint practices.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I mean, when we have seen teams have joint practices, it usually means a little bit of a lesser workload in games. And obviously that could be the case where, you know, those baseball teams were canceling their games left and right, it felt like. And obviously that's an outdoor. SoFi Stadium is indoor. But, you know, there's a real chance that this game wasn't going to play. Maybe they pushed them harder over the week, you know, especially toward the end of the week here. And now they're the lone game on Sunday night. Is it a Sunday night game on NBC? Maybe I'm actually not sure. I'll have to check that. But really, I mean, I could see it playing the same way it did last week for the Chargers, where it was like a lot of Easton Stick. You also had Isaiah Spiller, Joshua Kelly. You know, you kind of had that RB2 battle going on behind Eckler. You know, this could definitely be an interesting game. And, you know, we'll do our best to sift through the news. But that's why, you know, getting into our Discord, getting on the site, you know, the Showdown Playbook is free. It'll be free for the preseason. So having that available to y'all. But if you guys want the updated news, as soon as it comes in, you know, our Discord, NFL 20, gets you 20% off for life. And don't worry if it's not just, you know, just NFL preseason or anything like that. It's all sports. We get college football back next week. But yeah, I see you did the playbook here, Kurt. Looks really nice. Thank you very much. And that is free on the website as well. But we'll go ahead and get started off here. You know, we'll kind of talk a little bit about the quarterbacks because, you know, it's the most important position for Showdown. It feels the most important position in football. Like, what do you see happening here with the quarterback rotation for the Chargers and Saints tonight?
I think the Chargers one's kind of the most appealing one because even if Herbert goes, it'll be a series or two, and then it's just going to be the rest of the game, Easton Stick or Max Duggan. And Easton Stick has been kind of a steady preseason guy for us the past, 2 years. He has weapons there in L.A., even with the backups. For New Orleans, it's a little bit tricky if Carr plays because then you get that three-way split. If he doesn't play, I think Heiner might get 2.5 quarters, but Jameis Winston was super efficient, so you got to throw him in probably an MME pool. But I would just doing a single entry lineup. I think I would mostly just go with the Chargers guys as of right now.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it. I mean, Max Duggan obviously has the ability to kind of run, and as you know, he ran for 20 yards last week. I mean, you know, this QB2 situation is not completely set in stone. I think it is Stick. But Duggan, you know, might be able to make that case. And obviously he has his TCU teammates where, you know, Darius Davis, you know, had that returning of a punt touchdown last week as well. But yeah, you kind of have stacking options with both. I'm with you. It's definitely Stick where, you know, even if Herbert comes out for, you know, 2 series, not like he's going to play a lot, right? Stick has shown that he has a lot of talent. You know, he knows how to play the game. He was a hero for us last preseason. I don't see that changing here. Like I can definitely see Stick getting a lot of good run. You know, we have wide receivers to kind of pair him with as well. I mean, you know, Quentin Johnston was the one who dropped that ball from him. I wouldn't call that a drop. That would be a little bit harsh, but it was a deep ball down the right sideline. So, you know, you definitely have some stacking options with these guys. I think when you flip it over to the Saints side of the ball, you know, you're kind of a little bit in trouble. Like I like Jake Haener, you know, obviously has a little bit of talent and stuff. And, you know, Merriweather is there too. So, I mean, or not Merriweather, Winston is there as well. So the 25, 30 snaps potentially that you're projecting for Jameis, that could be enough. I mean, it takes one touchdown drive and showdown. I mean, it really does. So, you know, whoever we get word on starting, whether the QB situation, you know, is it just 2 quarterbacks, 3 quarterbacks, you know, I'm really going to be overweight on these Chargers guys. Then I'll probably mix in a lot of Haener and maybe even a splash of Winston for the most part. Yeah, I mean, anything else you want to add on these quarterbacks?
I do want to note, like week 1, I'm pretty sure Staley, if I remember correctly, in one of the Beats tweets, is like Staley not playing the starters week 1 and Herbert was mostly just the fear of the offensive line's not ready yet. I'm pretty sure that was Chargers and Staley. So like you can do more of those reps in joint practices and have a red jersey on, so it doesn't really affect him as much. So more reason why I think how much you really want to see him if you're not. I mean, maybe a week's change in the offensive line, he's feeling very confident in him, but I just think it's even more reason to see them. Like just see him in joint practices. Another thing I want to add is Max Duggan, like they each played a half, but the snap discrepancy was crazy. It was like 64%. And that's it's because it was either a 3 and out or Elijah Dotson like taking it to the crib from 40 yards out. It was like there's no happy medium. So, I mean, Duggan, I think he's left a lot in the tank there. He can just obviously the accuracy is but I just feel like there's a lot to be left in the tank there. And I think Duggan could have a big game possibly.
Yeah, it's a good shout. I mean, I really do think people might look at Dugan and be like, he only threw 3 passes last week. He only ran 4 times or whatever. I mean, well, if Elijah Dotson wasn't running for 60-yard touchdowns, and Isaiah Spiller ran for a 71-yard touchdown, get called back due to holding, and they were just ramming it down the throats of the Rams there. And, like, really, I mean, you're not going to get a lot of snaps when you run the ball that well. So I could definitely see a bounce-back game for Dugan. We'll move over to the running back position. So it's a little interesting. Obviously, you have one in your core here, Ellis Merriweather. You know, was Kendra Miller, is he going to return for this game, Kurt, you think?
No,
or is he out?
He's definitely out, I'm pretty sure. I think he's out a couple weeks, actually.
Yeah, perfect. So, I mean, that kind of thins out that Saints running back room a little bit. I mean, is the Saints running back room, to me, you know, if it's a little bit more thin, but you obviously know how much I love Isaiah Spiller this year. And if this RB2 battle is not set in stone yet, I could definitely see it being Spiller and Kelly, you know, where – this could be interesting. I mean, they might be able to get extended run today and be like, hey, whoever does better today or whatever, whoever did well in joint practices, maybe they get the upper hand in that battle, right? So I could definitely see Spiller and Kelly running out with like a lot of energy today. I think with Elijah Dotson, for the most part, those big runs, I mean, you can't really replicate them, surely, right? I think I'm going to be a little underweight on him. What are you doing with the Chargers?
So let's just go over the snaps from last week because there is kind of something to get out here for the people who haven't looked at the playbook or are just too lazy. Snaps were Spiller 36%, Kelly 30%, about what they were talking about, how they really want to see those two battled out. Roundtree 22%. He is cut. He is no longer with the team, so there's 22 snaps up for grabs. Horvath from Purdue, mostly a fullback, halfback hybrid. He played 14% of the snaps, and then Dotson 11%. I think Dotson's going to eat up most of the Roundtree snaps, and then there's going to be a little bit left over for Kelly and Spiller. And I think Horvath, his snaps come down to like 10%. So like in the playbook, I said, I think it's going to be like a 35, 30, 25 versus 30 for Dotson, and then like just mop up duty for Horvath. That's how I think it's breaking down. And I think Spiller, man, like when you get a 72-yarder called back, and we know he's a big play guy, it's tough to not have heavy Spiller. And I think that's how the ownership's going to fall too.
Isaiah Spiller is pretty good with his hands too. So, I mean, yeah. I think I would prefer him over Kelly. But like I said, I mean, it takes one touchdown. We saw with the Bonnie Conda in week 1.
I feel like Kelly's the guy they would be more inclined to put on the goal line.
You know, I think it's whoever drive it is for the most part, right? Like, I think that's how it is. And obviously Kelly was a low efficiency running back last year. So, I mean, this role is completely up for Spiller to grab. And I think he takes advantage of it tonight. He's actually going to be in my core. I think that can be obvious. Everyone knows how much I love him in best ball. It's not going to be anything secret here. Isaiah Spiller's my guy. Break down the Saints situation for me. I know you got Ellis Merriweather in your core. So you think he might be a lock if the starters sit.
Yeah, it's just so many. Like he would get probably almost 50% again because we got last week's snap for the Saints was Merriweather 41% all in the second half. Williams got 23%, Kendre Miller 16%, Kendre's hurt. Vargas, the guy from one of those teams out west, he got 15%. Kamara 14%. If the starters don't play, it at least takes out Kamara's 14% and Kendre Miller 16% because Kendre's hurt, which leaves just so much room. Like, I mean, Merriweather, even if the starters do play, I think Merriweather sees 40% again. It's hard to get away from if they set the starters.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, it would be nice to have a running back kind of given that 50% threshold, make him a great play all around. We know in showdown, 6 points is a good score. We're going to talk about the defenses later on, the kickers, obviously, but 6 points I'll take any day with the upside of a touchdown, right? We're going for that median floor with upside. Obviously, Ellis Merriweather will have that. So who did you say will split the snaps with Merriweather name-wise? Is it Merriweather and then who?
I think it'll just be him in the second. I mean, there's a fullback they can give snaps to and just fullback like in solo sets or something.
Do you think it'll be Williams and Kamara in the first half? Maybe a little mix of that.
If Kamara sets, I mean, I think you can maybe. I don't know, man. I think there's a chance. Like, okay, so it's gonna be if they do play the starters, Kamara and Williams probably get their like 10 to 20%, and then I don't see them giving Daryl Williams much PT. But if he does, I think it'll be 14% of what Jake Vargas had last week. And then, like I said, I think it leaves the 40% in just the entire second half for Merriweather. And Jake Haener and Merriweather looked good last week, so why not just run them out there again?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's a good breakdown right
that's all
there.
they had, though. Like, it's Alvin Kamara, Jamal Williams, which are the two starters. You don't want to see them past the first quarter. Kendre's hurt. He's gone. It leaves Merriweather, Daryl Williams, and fullbacks.
Yeah, so it'd be Daryl Williams that you kind of have maybe an interest in if you were really kind of hunting for a tournament play, right? That's what it kind of sounds like a little bit. But I think you're right, Merriweather, and then kind of move on maybe potentially. So it'll be interesting. I mean, obviously Daryl Williams just signed, a few days ago. I know they were looking at Kareem Hunt and stuff. I mean, I think Kareem Hunt would have gotten burned. Obviously, I think Daryl Williams kind of same way. See what he's got in the tank a little bit, but also soak up these snaps. Maybe he can make an impression for someone else. So, yeah, it's a little bit noteworthy. So let's go to wide receiver here. Obviously, in the playbook that you have up, you got Quentin Johnston up there. You have Terrell Bynum, Keelan Doss. Looks like some decent wide receivers. I know that for the Browns game, we were really interested in guys like Austin Watkins Jr., Cedric Tillman. I mean, are they on the same level as what we were looking at Thursday, or is this kind of, maybe a little less here?
I'm glad you asked. So, yes, if John Hightower, shout out Boise State, if John Hightower and Shepard are rolled out again, it's exactly like the situation we had there with Cleveland. If one of them play, it's still a great situation to target. And if both play, it becomes a little murky. I think everyone kind of gets even out. Like all this has pretty even. So we are monitoring John Hightower and Darius Shepard. I'm pretty sure Darius Shepard has been practicing. I think I saw him do a punt return in some of the videos. So if just one, we're fine. We can still fire these receivers up. Definitely want at least one in that case. But if both are out, I think you can make the argument for two of these wide receivers and probably a wide receiver captain.
Yeah, I think that's a good point too. With if we were able to get a thin wide receiver room, a lot of people were really afraid to play the Browns wide receivers. I mean, Austin Watkins was only 26% owned. Yep. Cedric Tillman, I think, was around 20% owned. Obviously, Cedric Tillman almost paid dirt on the first round.
Oh my God!
He literally only played like the first couple series. It was crazy. Obviously Watkins played the whole game. If you're getting wide receivers playing most of the game, sign me up. I mean, people are afraid to play wide receivers right now. I made it a rule last time, and I was a 1v1 off, Kurt. I think I told people that I was literally I had who's the quarterback who didn't play? Ian Book. I had Ian Book. If I played Tanner McKee, I solo shipped the main showdown. So I was a little bit hurt by that, but obviously you know why? It's because my wide receiver rules. I was looking at these wide receiver rooms. I'm like, hey, I'm going to do a min one of the Eagles. I'm going to do a min one of the Browns. Is what I ended up doing, and I think 93 of my 100 lineups were unique too. So, it kind of gives you that little bit of, uniqueness and also like upside. Not a lot of people wanting to play. Everyone's wanting to play kickers and defenses, right? Oh, cool. Enjoy your min cash. Sure, you might be right. The kicker is going to outperform my wide receiver 70% of the time. But when my wide receiver is right, the upside is there. So, it's that top heavy mentality. It's 20K to first tonight, right? 60K pool or whatever. A third of the prize pool is up top. I'm not going to be trying to play captain kicker or anything like that. I'm going to try and replicate what I got with Austin Watkins Jr. on Thursday. And if we get that opportunity with guys like Keelan Doss or Terrell Bynum, I'm absolutely going to do that. So do you have anything to add there?
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up. What I've noticed is, and every game is different. Like, if we really don't think these teams can move the ball, it'd be different. But like, Easton Stick can move the ball. Jameis Winston can move the ball. I'm thinking the optimal for GPPs. This is how I'd be playing GPPs: is you captain your favorite receiver, your favorite running back play, and then you only play one defense. But that doesn't mean you can't play the defense of the guy you're playing at captain. So don't be afraid of that. Just whichever defense you think scores the most. Only one defense. And we don't have to worry about kickers tonight, too, which is awesome. They're both in kicking battles. So that's a full avoid. So I think the option will be captain your favorite skill position guy. Because everyone, if they're like, okay, I'm not going to captain defense, I'm not going to captain kicker, I'll captain a quarterback. That's still, these quarterbacks aren't hitting at the clips that the receivers, when these running backs and receivers going off, they're getting like 15, 16, 18 points. And like, that's what you need to win GPP. So I think the optimal in GPP today, unless it's like an actual slugfest, terrible game, which I don't think it will be, receiver or running back at the captain spot with only one defense. That's my prediction.
I love it. I love it. And so obviously, did you touch upon like a little bit about like Quentin Johnston and the Chargers situation a little bit, but just to remind me, since I might not have been paying complete attention to what the names were, who are your top two Chargers wide receivers for tonight?
I mean, Keelan Doss, like playing 73% of the snaps. I mean, how do you not like that? And I'm pretty sure it's like almost all were routes too. Like maybe like 15% or 20% weren't, but they're all mostly routes. So he's out there to catch passes. And then Terrell Bynum, I think he was at 70%. So like if everything's the same and Hightower and Shepard are still out, those two, it makes it hard not to just plug both of them in because the running backs aren't great besides the Merriweather situation. So those two. And then if I had to give a third, like I love Quentin. I think he can score on the first drive. I just think they kind of scale him back a little bit more. I think how many snaps did Quentin have last week? He had 31% of the snaps. I think that's about the same. I mean, you can get guys that played 70%. So definitely have him in the pool, but you're going to need that early touchdown or the long pass.
Yeah, I'm trying to see here real quick if we have the projections up yet too. We have free projections on the Run Pure Sports website. The Showdown Playbook is free as well. Code NFL20 gets you access into our Discord, any other sport on the site. We have NASCAR, we have MMA, we have literally every sport that you can think of. We have content for. So if you guys are interested, NFL 20% off for life. Yeah, I'm trying to see if our projections are up. Not at the moment yet, but I'm curious to see what Bruce is going to say. And obviously, we talked about the Chargers wide receivers, and just so people have it, the top two Saints wide receivers for you.
I'm sorry, I want to talk about some of the GPP options for the Chargers wide receivers because I think what I just said will be chalk. We're going to see the snaps and play those guys. The two GPP options to pivot off one of those guys would be Darius Davis, but my favorite leverage would probably be Pokey Wilson. Saw like almost 30% of the snaps. We played him a little bit last week, so favorite GPP for the Chargers. And then for the Saints, Washington was super involved last week when I was watching. He got cut. So Brian Edwards saw 46% of the snaps. A.T. Perry saw 38%. And let me tell you, A.T. Perry was targeted every single play I watched. It was the most insane thing I've ever seen. He was targeted literally every single time. After that, Washington, who's no longer with the team, 35%. Baker, 30%. Lyndon Bowden, 30%. Kirkland, 19%. And then the starters got like sub 15%. So to take from that, I think Edwards probably gets the same amount. Perry maybe gets bumped up a little bit. Baker gets bumped up. Bowden, the gadget guy, I would limit to probably max one Saints wide receiver because I like Merriweather so much. But I'd probably rank it Perry first, obviously the highest owned, then Edwards, and then Lynn Bowden because I like these gadget guys. That's how I'd rank it right there for the Saints.
Love to hear it. Love to hear it. And I do love some Lynn Bowden, UK legend, former UK quarterback as well. So, yeah, A.T. Perry obviously had a very good profile at Wake Forest where it was a lot of big playability. That offense was clicking. It was Sam Hartman, I believe, right there. So, they had a good offense. I think Sam Hartman is now at Notre Dame right now, I think, Kurt.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so that'll be an interesting year. But, yeah, A.T. Perry definitely had a good college production, obviously. I didn't play the Saints slate last week. I'm kind of glad I didn't because I saw you tilting in Discord saying A.T. Perry gets every damn target in the world. So.
It was the most insane thing I've ever seen. So we got 38% of the snaps. And let's see how many targets the guy had. Continue. I'll find the target number. It was astronomical. It felt.
Find me the target number and then tell me that you're not interested in these tight ends. I don't see why we would play a tight end here, but maybe I'm wrong.
So A.T. Perry, 6 targets, 6 catches. So not only did he have a lot of targets, also extremely efficient. Brian Edwards had 5 targets too, so he wasn't that far behind A.T. Perry. I think Brian Edwards is probably a guy they go to in the red zone more too. So don't sleep on him. Quan Baker, 3rd in targets with 4. He had 30% of the snaps. I don't mind him as a GPP. He's similar to like the GPP options for the Chargers with the guys who just kind of get overlooked at the wide receiver group. And then Jawan, like I said, I listened to Johnson and Parham just so the people who MME don't early tilt when like these first units drive down and like they're in the red zone and the red zone targets are Jawan Johnson, who's like 8 feet tall, athletic as hell, and then Darnell Parham. So just to prevent the tilting early, I'm probably going to have like, I don't know, 8% or something, nothing crazy, just so I'm not completely stone dead if they score a 4-yard touchdown in the first drive.
Yeah, I hear that. I mean, obviously, production at the tight end position has been a little bit low, but Juwan Johnson is definitely a red zone target that definitely would receive, some looks there if the push came to shove. So you mentioned that both teams have a kicking battle going on. So you're saying I can't yell Dicker the kicker when he makes a field goal today? Is that what you're telling me?
So what's weird is the Chargers have 2 on the depth chart, but only Dicker kicked last week. So I doubt
injury. I do remember that.
It was Hopkins is hurt.
Yeah, but I think he's back now. I followed some really good. He doesn't know I follow him, but Alex Insdorf. This dude does a lot of good stuff on the Chargers. Keeps it up to date and stuff. I followed him, and I think I remember seeing Dustin Hopkins has been kicking again. Brandon Staley says this is one day ago. Brandon Staley says he will see where Dustin Hopkins, quote, stands with his health before deciding if both kickers will play on Sunday. So we might get word if not, but if Dicker's the only kicker, then I'm going Dicker the kicker.
Yeah, I agree with that. Well, I think the best case scenario is Hopkins plays and they say they split because the Saints are splitting right down the middle. So I still think people would click on those names because Sunday night people are bored. Casuals are going to come in and probably just select a kicker. So I would love just to like have both of them play, and then maybe Dicker comes in a little under-owned if one of them plays. It's a win-win situation for us, probably.
Yeah, I mean, the great thing about Dicker is that he was a great kicker at Texas. I mean, he really was. Hook him. I mean, he has a leg too. He'll definitely hit 50+ yarders and stuff. He is one of my favorite college players in history too. So I do love me some Cameron Dicker. So let's go ahead and talk about some defenses, Kurt. Defenses. Obviously, we've seen them go off. I mean, it felt like Thursday, I faded the Browns in my main team. Luckily, Austin Watkins is a legend and got me way across the min cash line. But it felt like every play ended in a damn sack. Did we see something like that happening tonight? I know the total is 37. Saints are slight favorites. What is it, -3.5? I think you would lean Saints over Chargers, but are you going to have any lineups where you double D?
I think you can do it for cash, but I just feel like if the starters don't play, the answer will be no for GPPs. If none of the starters play for both these teams, I think there's too much snaps to go around to where I don't think you need it and too much upside. If the starters do play, then I'll start introducing more of the 2 defense. But I'm telling you, I'm avoiding them in the captain, like unless they score and I cry. But I just think you can find someone who scores like 15 points and him at the captain will be optimal. Please no defensive touchdowns, bro. Like, I'll cry. You there? You're on mute, Roots.
The dangers of using one scroll thing, as I just found out, as I'm trying to upload my Premier League teams, Kurt. I found out that you can't scroll over when you have all the windows open trying to find your sheet. So anyway, I'm kind of with you. Defenses were super under-owned, actually, in terms of the captain spot, I should say. They were like 5% in the captain slot, 6%. And I think that's what kind of propelled the Browns for the most part. To be able to be the optimal captain is that they were just so under-owned. You're like, oh, man, maybe it's not the worst thing in the world. So I might have a little bit of interest in them at captain. Obviously, Dugan, he's a good quarterback and stuff, but he's not someone I'm going to be, afraid of to target. Yeah. So I think I'll have a lot of the Saints defense, a little bit of the Chargers defense too. I think I'll be at 50% on both teams. Seems to be a good number. You're slightly underweight. And I think I'm going to match the field on like the captaincy just in case we see a 32-pointer like we saw with the Falcons last week. I kind of want to protect a little bit against that. I didn't love the Browns defense going in, and I still protected against that, and it almost had me a winner. If I just go McKee over damn book, Kurt. I'm gonna tilt that one. Yesterday was a great day. Bruce's projections and obviously our plays of the day all did really well. My play of the day was actually the worst on the board. Jake Bobo. It felt like he didn't get enough love from Pete Carroll there. He didn't play a ton. It felt like.
Wait, I woke up in 3X and I think so. Bobo didn't do anything.
Bobo had 2 catches, 43 yards.
It was freaking Cameron Latou. I had like damn near 50% Cameron Latou. 1% owned, went for a freaking 14 burger. God, I can't believe no one didn't play him. But yeah, I guess that's why.
Yeah, the tight end position. We always talk about how important it is on those classic slates. This is absolutely no different. I finally got my my Premier League teams in, so I can stop double focusing. But yeah, anything else that you want to add? I mean, obviously we have a little bit more to, and not really a ton to discuss. I guess we talked about all the positions. Shout out Ryan L. won 200 last night after watching the show yesterday. Hey, awesome job, man. Love to see that. We definitely love to see any success that anyone has. These free shows are absolutely awesome, and I know that a lot of people have good content out there. And I've been trying to get into the streets of Underdog a little bit so I can build more of my best ball teams, Kurt. I'm on team number 75 in Best Ball Mania. I've been trying to play these props a little bit. I'll tell you what. Since I got a couple extra minutes, I don't mean to hold you up, Kurt. I know we said 30 minutes is what we want, but I want to check and see if there's any props tonight on Underdog. So
I like that.
Let's do rapid fire. Give me your gut instinct, all right? Okay. Jameis Winston, 88.5 passing yards. Higher or lower?
Higher.
Higher? Perfect. Derek Carr, 65.5. Probably voids if he doesn't play.
I don't think he plays a lot. That's why I took the Winston over. I think there's a chance that he sets.
Poorly.
Yeah.
All right. Brian Edwards, 29.5 receiving yards.
What is
Perry is 35.5.
Give me Edwards. I like those 5 targets. He can get 30.
So you can get 30? You think A.T. Perry goes above 35?
That's a lot for preseason, man.
Yeah.
A lot of his like targets were kind of short too.
He's a big play guy. Takes one play for him.
I know, but they were like, I feel like his ADOT was super low on most of his.
Here's a good one. I think I like this one, especially if we get word that Herbert doesn't play. Max Dugan's props are really low.
I think I already hit the over on Prize Picks on those actually.
83.5 passing yards. I would take the over. I think you're in agreement there.
Yeah.
Perfect. Easton Stick, I mean, he's only 31.5. Or not 31.5, 101.5. I mean, that's kind of low too. These Chargers props are low. I think they're playing for the uncertainty where maybe Herbert plays. Mm-hmm. And if you kind of take advantage of that, I mean, obviously I don't think you can stack the same teams on. Yeah, you can't stack the same teams on Underdog, I don't think. Yeah, you have to pick from at least 2 teams. So you can actually stack those together with the Raiders.
I will say, with how many snaps that Stick got last week, if Herbert plays, I think it doesn't affect Dugan at all. I think Dugan still sees all the second half. I think it just affects all of Stick snaps because if Herbert did play, that would even out the preseason snaps with Dugan and Stick. So I really think that's what happens. I think it hurts Stick a lot more if Herbert plays.
Perfect. Here, I'm going to go through that Chargers guy, see if he has any news too. But
Isaiah Spiller, 32.5 rushing and receiving.
Yeah, and receiving. I saw that too. I mean, I kind of like these overs on the Chargers side of the ball. I think you can definitely make the case for maybe Derek Carr only gets 1 or 2 drives under 65.5. Jamal Williams, 27.5. They might not have a completely healthy backfield to start. I mean, Alvin Kamara is out for the first 3 games of the regular season. Does Jamal really get ran out there for too much? I don't think so. 27.5 on the under. I'm leaning that, Kurt. I think that's my play there. So Dugan, Stick, Isaiah Spiller. We got some good ones tonight. So perfect. All right, Kurt. It's enough of the props. We're gonna move on to our plays of the day. Kurt, who's your play of the day from the Chargers Saints game?
Can we do a chalky and a non-chalky one?
Oh, wow, we're cheating the system. But yeah, let's do a chalky and not chalky.
Because it's only one game, so it's like
all right, we'll give the people what they want, Kurt.
I'm gonna go Brian Edwards as the semi-chalk, because I'm going to leave you A.T. Perry. And then for the low-owned GPP dart, fourth quarter specialist, Pokey Wilson for the Chargers, pending those Chargers receivers do set. Pokey Wilson if the Chargers receivers said the sat last week.
I see why you wanted to do the chalky, non-chalky option. You really went deep in your bag of tricks there. That means if I say anyone who's about 10%, I'm a loser, right?
Pokey's going to be like 5, 6, maybe lower.
So we already knew it. We already know who's my play of the day. Best ball hero, a guy who's going to be an absolute stud for the Chargers in the regular season. I see him, really, really having a good role. I see 150 touches this season for him. It is Texas A&M's own Isaiah Spiller. And then I am for my non-chalky option. I mean, that one's kind of in between. Can I take two in betweeners?
That evens out.
We'll do it. We'll just do a cannon. I think that pairing it up with Max Duggan in the second half.
Yes.
I think that Darius Davis had a great punt return last week and stuff, but as we said, they didn't need to run the ball they didn't need to throw the ball last week. They were getting 40 yards a pop on the ground with Elijah Dotson, right? I'm not interested in Dotson. No way. I'm interested in Darius Davis, TCU stack, Max Duggan, Davis connection in the second half.
You know what? Just stack it with the Chargers defense too. Maybe he gets one receiving and another punt return or a kick return.
There we go. Now we're in Galaxy brand, man. Hey, make sure you play Darius Davis with the Chargers defense for that double punt return stack.
And then he gets another one, a bomb from Max Duggan, baby. Triple.
Perfect. Well, thank you all for joining us. As I said, NFL 20% off for life. Join us in the RPS Discord, and good luck today in this showdown.